All right, so well, first I'll introduce myself. I am
Yes.
Brittany Beatty, licensed mental health counselor. I'm also a perinatal, certified in perinatal mental health, and the founder and owner of Blossom Forward, which is a private practice counseling agency with a clinical focus in women's mental health, specializing in perinatal and maternal mental health. And we aim to provide a safe and non judgmental space for new moms to be able to prioritize their mental health so that they can show up in the spaces in alignment with who they want to be, and not be hindered by
Yay.
by um, by mental health or mental illness or um, anything that's coming up that's hindering them from who they want to be and how they want to show up. And I'm speaking with Joanna Lee.
Hello, hello.
And so Joanna I wrote it down so I could get it completely right, is a bilingual mental health therapist, educator, mama, toddler mama, wife, and founder of Millennial Therapy, a postpartum and maternal wellness brand rooted in compassion, cultural humility, and collective care. She started the platform during her own postpartum journey to expand access to mental health education, accessible grounding practices, and supportive community spaces for pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. Through her YouTube podcast, Escuelita, Cafecitos, classes, and workshops, Joanna aims to create reflective, grounding spaces that help mamas and new parents tend to their emotional well being with self compassion, clarity, and intention.
Yay.
Okay, I love that. I find it really hard as a business owner, or I did, to be able to articulate what I do and what my business is about and like my value proposition. Did you create that on your own, or
Yeah,
how or did you, yeah, tell me more about that.
so I had to really sit down and step back and slow down. And honestly, Google helped me because
Yeah.
I knew I had already known like the values I was trying to bring. I knew I wanted to do education. I knew I wanted to do postpartum motherhood wellness. But I literally was like, I wonder what like Google would say millennial thermom is, because I was getting hired for a speaking like engagement, and they asked for the same. They asked for a bio, and I was like, oh, I know what I am, but I think I was just trying to use the tools that be. And on Google, I was able to, yeah, it's like millennial thermom. And it had a little, AI like summary. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that sounds like me. And
Yeah.
also, like, I've been getting a lot of help with my SEO for my website. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that like the behind the scenes of what my SEO like website manager is doing
Mm-hmm.
has helped a
Mm-hmm.
lot too.
Yeah.
Because I think then it's like within the YouTube and what's already been on the YouTube channel for about 2 years now, and then the website's been live for I don't know 5 6 months, almost 6 months.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
pretty new, and I have to always remind
Mm-hmm.
myself because imposter syndrome has been knocking on my door, and
Yeah.
I'm like. I literally had a conversation with a friend yesterday. I was like, I feel like I have to share with people what the value is. And she's like, there is value, and there is learning how to communicate it, but like
Mm-hmm.
trying to remember like, okay, just because I don't have like a ton of people in my escuelita or cafecito doesn't mean it's still not valuable. The one or two
Oh,
people who
yeah.
show up, like that's one or two families. So like not
Mm-hmm.
letting the
Mm-hmm.
lies of the enemy telling me like I'm not doing enough or what I do doesn't matter. So all that to
Mm-hmm.
say, like
100%.
I knew my heart in it. I had done a little like journaling around it always before, but posting into Google and be like, what is millennial thermal? And I was like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I do.
Well, sometimes you need that help just to like bring the clarity and to summarize what it is that you do. We know in our heads, but putting it into the
Mhm.
word space and writing it down sometimes can feel really challenging. And
Yes.
so to have
Yeah.
either someone else to like summarize it or clean it up, so to speak, can be really helpful. And guess what? You always have that copy now,
Exactly.
right? You
Yep. Yep.
always have that bio. You always have that value, like your pitch,
Hmm.
and you can update it or edit it as you want, but you have the foundation. And
Hmm.
honestly, you're so right. Whether it's one or two people or 1,000, the way you show up is it shouldn't change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you are bringing value regardless, and there is impact even if it's just one person. And the
Exactly.
consistent as you consistently show up, more people will come, and it doesn't mean it's less or more
Mm-hmm.
valuable. They just now get access to the value
Yes.
that has
Yeah.
always been there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a lot
Um,
of unlearning, right? Because I feel like in our
yes.
society, it's like the numbers, right? Like, well, how many
Mm-hmm.
people coming in? How many like it becomes a numbers thing, an outcomes thing. But at the end of the day, I always remember like each person who shows up, that's a whole family, that's a whole life, and their
Yes.
whole children. Especially when we talk about postpartum parents, it's like their
Mm-hmm.
children are also in this space, whether or not
You're touching generations,
Yeah,
honestly, right? Like
yeah,
generations, and then one person can then meet 10 other people, right? Word
exactly.
of mouth and just like whatever they spread. But yeah, I think with social media influencing and seeing people with millions of followers and or hundreds of thousands, and we think, oh, they've got it, and sometimes that's misleading.
Hmm.
They can have these followers, but their engagement is not there or their impact is not there. And
Hmm.
so, impact matters,
Yes.
and who you impact matters, and the numbers will come, but even the one or two or the
Hmm.
10
Yeah.
matter as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm supposed to
But I
just,
want
yeah, just do my
what
part. I just got to do my part,
exactly
and the
your
rest
part
will.
is showing up
Hmm.
consistently. I want to go back because in your biography, you said that your postpartum journey is what led you to creating Millennial Therapy. And for a lot of us who are in this niche of maternal or perinatal mental health, that's pretty common that like our own experience is what propelled us into that. And so I want to talk to your comfort a little bit more about like what about your postpartum journey led you to creating Millennial Therapy.
Yeah, so I definitely know that Millennial Theramom was formed and created within my fourth trimester of being a mom. So like
Okay.
those
Uh-huh.
12 weeks they tell you from
Mm-hmm.
because literally my first I was just looking at my notes. The very first thing I recorded was on February 6th of 2024. My daughter was about 10 weeks old there. So
Wow.
yeah, that one I actually
Okay.
didn't end up posting. I posted it, took it down, and then ended up relaunching with the YouTube visual in June and sorry, in
Mm-hmm.
May, because I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
more of a visual. I want to do a visual. But anyway, before that, I was definitely that kind of person that before becoming a mom, like, high achieving, kind of over functioning, kind of a people pleaser, probably a lot of
Mm-hmm.
perfectionism, a lot of things that I felt like were quote unquote functional. Like I was
Right.
doing the thing, I was showing up for other people, but I know that deep down inside, like I was probably burning myself out. It was
Mm-hmm.
just so hard for me to let go of like what other people needed. So other people's needs always were at the forefront. And I can remember that for as long as I really can remember. Just like
Mm-hmm.
it's about other people. It's not about me. And though I do believe in like having a heart of service, and like having a
Mm-hmm.
servant heart, I also now know that it doesn't come at the expense of pouring everything from your cup and then
Exactly.
being empty. Like you also need to be poured into. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like for me, like many other people who are first time, shout out first time people out there, there was a
Yeah.
lot of prep around birth, right? Yes, I was super
Mm-hmm.
anxious about birth, but I felt like it was valid birth
Yeah.
anxiety. I had no clue what was happening, but the
Mm-hmm.
nursery was done, the clothes was organized and washed,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. I went to a webinar too around postpartum mental health. I was like, I'm a therapist, I should be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. That's yeah. False sense of security sometimes.
Super false sense. And then I felt like postpartum was like, this is the visual that I imagine. You're driving really fast down a hill, and like all of a sudden there's more turns than you realize. So you're trying to figure out how
Mm-hmm.
to slow down while you're zipping down this mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And the
feel like
roads are wet.
in the road, and there's no guards. It's just scary. Or back in the day, like you
Yeah.
were driving at the same speed, but maybe it was more like a
Yeah.
highway or it was like a bumpy road. But there was
Mm-hmm.
something so special about that postpartum season where I'm like, whoa, like I'm feeling pulled and pushed, like the matrescence, right? I felt this
Mm-hmm.
like wow, I'm a mom and I have like so much love. I'm overflowing. Like this is bananas. And then another part of me that was like, I'm tired and I want to be by myself and I miss
Mhm.
working. Like I really miss
Mhm.
working. I miss like being good at something. So I feel like
Mhm.
that those few months, I really also had to grapple with the fact that I didn't want to go back to work. I was working at community mental
Mm.
health full time. I was a manager at that point, and I had been there for almost 5 years. And it was meaningful work, like
Mhm.
trauma work, anxiety work, family, just coming together and being able to talk to each other. And I had like a just before the like it's a long story, but my daughter was also in the NICU for a few days, for 5 days.
Really?
Yeah,
How
and I think I
have we
started.
met so much and
I
I didn't
know.
know that you were a Nikki mom too?
Yeah, I gotta hear your story too.
Yes.
I had one of the bigger babies in the NICU because she was 8 pounds, so she
Mhm.
was a bigger baby. But within the same day of delivering her, like her breathing was off, so they had to bring her out, to the NICU and do all these tests. And there was just so much anxiety. There's so much fear.
Mhm.
I feel like yes, on top of like quote unquote baby blues and the hormone dip and all that, I was also like terrified, And
A
I
hundred
think,
percent. Yeah.
yeah. And I saw the other parents there and I was like, wow, this season is so vulnerable. But it's so unseen. It's like we
Yes.
expect moms to and dads to just go back to work like nothing happened.
Mhm.
Like they're
Mhm.
not whole new versions of themselves. Or we really don't know what the experience of a postpartum mom is. We don't know what the birth was like. I know for us, ended up needing to use a vacuum to get her out, and
Okay. Mhm.
that was a lot. But anyway, all of
Yes.
that,
Well, we don't
like,
talk about birth trauma. We don't talk about NICU trauma. We don't talk about what it's like to leave your baby at the hospital and have to go
yeah,
home,
leaving without her,
and
yeah, super
yes,
hard. Like,
yes. And, there are people who say, and this is not to say we don't have gratitude, but there are people like, oh, your baby is now healthy or your baby is back home. But that stuff sticks with you. That
yes, yeah,
experience stays with you. And so, yes, there's gratitude that, we made it or we made it out.
hmm
And then there's also like now that heightened anxiety with that experience because
yeah,
now like, oh my gosh, it's not always butterflies and rainbows.
yeah,
Like there
yep,
are, like you said, curves that we may not see coming,
hmm
and so I'm happy that we're having conversations about this and like sharing
hmm
our stories. And so many people are sharing birth stories now as well, where
hmm
it's just not, there are some people who have a magical experience and a
hmm
magical birth, and then there are some people who have a ton of trauma or,
yep,
it was really scary for them, or there
yep.
was something that, and they felt so out of control and was nothing like their birth plan.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think with like the combination of the NICU stay and just like becoming a new person, feeling like my
Mm-hmm.
desire to go back to work had disappeared. But also realistically speaking, we were in San Diego at the time. So I was like, well, I'm gonna lose all my income of my
Mm-hmm.
side of
Mm-hmm.
thing. But my husband was really supportive. Like we were like, okay, I can start practice. I'm a licensed therapist now. And so
Mm-hmm.
Millennial Theramom technically was after what originally was called J Libre, which was like my counseling practice. And
Oh.
yeah, so y'all getting all the behind the scenes.
Yes.
So
Who are you? No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right? Like, who am
I'm
I
just
really?
kidding. No,
I have a long
there are so
story.
many layers. No, I love it.
Yeah,
Okay,
and J
continue.
Libre had already been like me having a private practice was a little seed that had started as I was taking like getting prepared to be licensed. I got in my license in January 2023. I found out I was pregnant in March of 2023 and I took my maternity
Mhm.
leave in October of 2023. So once I was like, okay, well, I'm not going back to work. I decided that around 8 weeks officially communicated it and everything. And I started my counseling practice, but I was like, I want to focus on postpartum because
Mhm.
I'm going through so many like emotional shifts, learning how to rest and ask for help and who am I
Mhm.
now? And I have rage and I've never been the kind of person to have rage. So postpartum rage
Mhm.
is it's an interesting
It's a
little friend.
doozy. Yes.
It's a friend.
It's
I'm
a
like,
doozy.
ooh, I literally felt like I talk about how I used to connect with like the personality of a monkey for some reason. I don't know. I always loved
Mhm.
monkeys. I think they're like just hanging around, chilling, out of
Yeah.
people's ways. And then I turned into a lioness. Like, I don't know how, but my
Yes.
spirit animal changed.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, so as I was, started very, very small case, so like five max. I started in February, also like right around the same time as I recorded that first little snippet. And I think I stepped back from doing the podcast because I was like, well, my plate is full with these therapy clients that I have. My daughter was still
Mm-hmm.
not in daycare, and we didn't even decide to put her into daycare until earlier this year. So that speaks a
Mm-hmm.
little bit to some of the anxiety and stuff that was happening. But it was
Mm-hmm.
within those sessions that I was like, all these mamas are coming and sharing very similar things, and they think that there's something wrong with them for having like this push and pull. They're like, and
Mm-hmm.
I think just because of my identity, I tended to attract other like first gen Latina, first time moms or
Mm-hmm.
second time moms, like in a different season. And I was realizing like, wow, there's a lot of like cultural messages as well of like,
Mm-hmm.
what is a good mom and what does a good mom do? There's also a lot of expectations in the society that we
Mm-hmm.
lived in. And I was like, this doesn't have to just be reserved for the therapy room. I think these are conversations that could happen with our homegirls. so
Yeah.
so millennial
Hmm.
therapy was one of those things that as I was like marinating a little bit more of like, okay, if I were to create like an online presence where I'm not necessarily showing up as a therapist, but I'm showing up as someone who has a background in mental health, as an educator, but
Mm-hmm.
also mostly like showing you what I'm going through. Because I've
Mm-hmm.
always felt like that story that like Me Too connects people in ways and helps heal people in ways that sometimes like sitting in a therapy room can be helpful too, but it's that being seen, right?
Yeah.
Like being
And the
seen.
universality of having a similar experience to
Yes,
somebody else and not
exactly.
feeling alone. I think that's one of the big messages with PSI is that
Mm-hmm.
you are not alone,
Yes,
right? Because
exactly.
with kind of being introspective or being uh, kind of going with it by yourself, you feel like the shame can breed, right?
Yes,
Like the
yeah,
shame grows, but
yeah,
shame goes away when we share our stories with others, and the
exactly.
more we share is
Yeah,
helpful. And
exactly.
so going to the Latino community as well as because you said that's kind of the population that came to you based off, like you said, your identity, and the same with me, right? Where most women that I see are Black women because of the representation and how important it is culturally to be able to go someplace that feels safe. And so for you, one, with Millennial Therapy Mom, you talked about like the importance of community and feeling like you're with your homegirl. I'd like to talk more about like how that shows up in your work, what how important community is in your life, and also, you know, what creating access for the Latino community looks like as far as maternal mental health. Like, what are the barriers that you have seen, and kind of how has that influenced your work?
Yeah, yeah. So just like touching base on the PSI really quickly is I did end up taking the PSI training. I believe it was in March. So if I started my practice in February, I took the PSI training in March, and they were saying that like I remember learning all the statistics and all of this, and then
Mm-hmm.
but what stuck out to me the most was like community support is like the number one thing that helps mitigate a lot of these outcomes, like more
Mm-hmm.
severe depression, more severe anxiety, is having community support. So like
Mm-hmm.
that seems like, yeah, I like that. I want to figure out how to be a part of that. So Millennial Therapy Mom, I did start it off as like I don't remember exactly the timing of when I started calling like the community spaces cafecitos. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was in the evolving of like, okay, I want to host a little like circle. I want to host a space to talk about this. And for me, like realistically speaking, I my daughter maybe it's 2024. Yeah. 2024 when I was doing all this work, and it was also election year. And I can't be naive and try to pretend like politics don't impact people. Some people
Yes.
can try to believe that.
Yeah.
It's not
That's not
what has been
realistic.
revealed to my heart.
Especially in our niche, right?
Yes, yes.
Politics impact people
Yes. Yeah.
in
So
our
from when
niche
it comes to like
all the way through. Yes.
parental leave, or whether who's getting
Mm-hmm.
detained, or who's having access to food, whose food supply is getting cut off. So all those
Mm-hmm.
things were also very like contributing a little bit to my postpartum rage. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
why is there so much harm going on? And I'm already like postpartum myself, trying to figure out like how do I raise a kind child who knows that no human being is illegal, that like
Mm-hmm.
everyone is
Mm-hmm.
worthy of dignity and care. But for
Yes.
some reason,
And
when
to
I,
feel
I
safe going to give birth as well, right?
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, like that they're going to be heard, they're going to be respected. But in all that, like I found that I tried to go to like a breastfeeding like support space, and you could tell it was surface level conversations only, surface
Mm-hmm.
level or like individual. But
Mm-hmm.
what was happening for me is that I was starting to get a lot, especially later in 2024, a lot of anxiety around like, well, I'm a first gen Mexican American person
Mm-hmm.
who grew up with immigrants. I'm starting to feel re-triggered from like for all the little babies out there who are undocumented or their parents are undocumented. Like I was carrying a lot in my heart for those babies, and for those families. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to other people who aren't afraid to say this is impacting me, or even just
Mm-hmm.
creating a safe space for those people who are like, yes, postpartum is a lot. And also like I have this little exercise I do in most of my cafecitos called the rose that grew from concrete, because I've always loved that visual. I
Mm-hmm.
always joke like
Yes.
I got it on me, but this was,
Oh,
I don't
that's
know,
beautiful.
12 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. I don't even remember. I was 22. Ooh, I was a baby. But I've always loved like the visual of like there's these roses and they still have this beauty, but there's still like these thorns that are individual, but there's also this concrete. So I kind
Mm-hmm.
of started talking about like what are some of the cultural systemic stuff around you that are impacting how you're experiencing your postpartum. And I noticed that that
Mm-hmm.
was resonating with people because they were
Yes,
like,
because that
yes,
matters and it impacts them
yeah,
so much. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, we started hosting those spaces, more community, like both like mental health education, but also like what's impacting you? How are you trying to take care? Where does your piece of the puzzle kind of fit in with everything? Because I think it can be really easy to feel hopeless, especially if you're like postpartum emotions times like
Hmm.
the world on fire.
Well, I mean, it's the most vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable times in your life, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, you're already experiencing so many changes in your identity, so many changes in your like close relationships,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you have this little human that you love so much and you also want to keep alive and you
Yeah.
also have to feed and, learn. You're learning each
Yeah.
other. They're
Exactly.
learning how to be in the earth and you're learning how to meet their needs. And I
Hmm.
think that's another thing that's not really always talked about, where sometimes it's a skill that we're building. It's not always intuition,
Yes.
or natural, like some people maybe say, especially like
Hmm.
with breastfeeding or things
Hmm.
like that. So,
Yep. Exactly.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, going back to what you're saying with like community and how
Hmm.
like systemic things impact people, especially in the perinatal phase.
Yes, yeah. So I think that, yeah, like I know I'm kind of giving a long answer, but
Oh,
ultimately I
this is what we're
started,
here for,
yeah,
conversation.
yeah. I
And to
started,
learn, I'm learning so much about
yeah,
you.
you are getting a little, I feel like I'm on tour.
No.
But yeah, so that's when I started to realize like, though I'm grateful that I'm a therapist and I'm still paying a ton of money to,
Mhm.
well, my loans are in deferment, but I still have a lot of loans and like a lot of stuff related to my license. I also was finding that like I'm more than just like this specific role. I'm also like a community girl. Like I'm a comadre. I am
Mhm.
like, I'm that friend that's gonna be like, how are you? Are you taking care of yourself?
Mhm.
When was the last time you ate? And I think that a lot of new
Mhm.
parents and new moms need that. And I think that because we don't have as much of that, like therapists are key. I think therapists are amazing too. Like I heard like a podcast somewhere like everyone should have like therapy for the first year of postpartum. And I was like, oh, that would be
A
amazing.
hundred percent.
That would be
I'm
so
in
cool,
agreement.
right? But it's like
And honestly, before pregnancy too, so that
before,
you
yeah,
can know
yes,
know about yourself,
yeah,
but then able to go in. Yeah,
exactly.
that whole
So
thing, like trying to conceive.
Hmm.
2 years, the first two
Yes,
years.
first 2 years, yeah. So I was like,
Or
yes, like, and then they were saying like, and if not, if you don't have that, like, at least a friend that you could be honest with about how you're actually feeling, and they're not gonna be like, well, at least, you know, or you should be grateful. I call it shitting yourself. Like people shit
yes.
on us and we shit on ourselves. And it's like
Yes.
shits don't help. That's why I'm a big proponent of self-compassion, because self-compassion
Hmm.
helps meet that should with a little more tenderness. Like who said
Yeah.
that, you know? And
Yeah.
like, why?
Curiosity and kindness. I think especially in the postpartum period, we're missing kindness to ourselves
Yes.
because of whatever expectations we had, or
Yeah.
Instagram and
Yeah.
society, and seeing everybody's like highlight reels, and
Yeah.
when things aren't going the way we thought they would, because like our babies are their own human, their own
Hmm.
selves, and have their own personalities, and so
Exactly.
there's no way we would have been able to predict who they would come out to be.
Exactly. All the planners.
Yeah.
I know it's the
Yes,
planners who
yes.
sometimes struggle a little bit because it's like, well, I had a plan, and like you really cannot plan
Mhm.
a baby.
Mhm.
And I listened to the podcast yesterday. Dr. Edna Legabe. I know I'm not saying it right, but she was talking. She's like a reproductive and perinatal psychiatrist, and she
Oh,
like talked about matrescence for like almost an hour and a half.
yeah.
But you know, I have a
I
lot of.
I just finished that book. Have you read it?
Oh yes, by Lucy Jones.
Yes,
So
yes.
good.
So
So
because I recommend it a lot, and I've had clients that have benefited from it or thought that it was like informative, and so I was just like, man, this we have to talk more about matrescence.
mhm.
So many people have never heard that term,
Yeah,
and it really is the like identity of becoming a
yeah,
mom
yeah.
and
I
what
would.
that means. Yeah,
Yep.
go ahead though.
Yeah, I was just creating a post about that because May 1st we start Maternal Mental Health Month. I was like, all right, it's Super Bowl month.
Yes,
It's like
yeah,
it's our Super Bowl.
yes. Oh, and I have nothing planned.
No, it's okay.
No.
The fact you doing
Well,
this work
I'm going to
is
be
already.
sharing your stuff. I'm going to be sharing your stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But
So yeah, let's. That's a great segue. Let's
yeah,
get
yeah.
into like what that's going to look like, what events you have coming up.
Yes,
Um, and then we could talk more about like grounded motherhood, Estelita, and some of
yes,
the classes and things that you offer.
yeah. Yeah, so the vision is definitely to help build community around like that new motherhood and beyond. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think though my most like let's say confident space for me is postpartum. I also
Mm-hmm.
know that there's more to wellness than just postpartum. Like you said, there's from the planning period, there's pregnancy, and there's
Mm-hmm.
beyond. And my
Mm-hmm.
goal is really to just help encourage conversations around wellness, around like what am I believing about what I should or should not be doing at this stage. So I have like a free, I call it a grounded motherhood guide, but essentially that's kind of like one way that I try to talk about like what does wellness look like, whatever season that
Mm-hmm.
you're in. Does it look like, are there any habits that you're trying to start, like showering, right? Feeding yourself, getting into the sunshine. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not even talking about like go do hardcore workouts for 2 hours.
No, like basic needs.
Basic needs, yeah. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
little like kind of a way for that because I'm a big believer that mental health is holistic, and
Yes.
things that impact us are finances,
Mm-hmm.
relationships, our
Mm-hmm.
spirituality. There's all these other things. In the little guide, it encourages you to, check in on these different areas of your health and wellness and identify a baby step or two. Because that's another thing,
Mm-hmm.
like, I've always been a fan of baby steps. So I think what can be hard in postpartum is like all of your routines and rituals and needs kind of go out the window. So
Mm-hmm.
learning like, okay, what does it look like to take care of myself? And maybe like, let's say for me, like I'm Christian. So one thing could be, I really want, I know I need to want to be praying a little bit more or
Mm-hmm.
reading the word a little bit more. So maybe I
Mm-hmm.
start off with 5 minutes, just 5 minutes.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
I love like 2 minute journal intentions where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down the start of the day with my little cafecito and write, today my intention is to be kind to myself. So that was really
Mm-hmm.
what the work looked like for me just starting off. And now it's evolved, but my goal within, anyway, like this, the grounded motherhood is encouraging new moms and seasoned moms and like soon to be moms to like,
Hmm.
my needs matter. Like, how do I take care of
Yes.
myself? Because who wins if a mom's burnt out, right? Like, that is a line that I wrote in one of the poems, which I'll speak on that too. But I think
Yes.
that we can like kind of, I feel like women of color in general, like there's this strong like expectation, like, they can handle it,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
internally that becomes internal. It's like, I can handle it, I don't need help, I'm fine. And then we're
Hmm.
just on the
I just
road
have
to
to keep
burnout.
pushing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're just
I
on the
have to
road to
keep
burnout.
pushing. Hmm.
And burnout impacts families, impacts our babies and
A
children.
hundred
So it's
percent.
like, you
A
can have
hundred percent.
wellness, it's just work to get there.
And I really resonate with what you said about it. It doesn't have to be this big grand thing, right? I think that is some of the work that we do is challenging the narratives that it has to be all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes can make a total difference, right?
Yep.
Making sure you're drinking water, like a sip of water every so often, or more than a
Whole
sip,
jerk of water.
Way to, there you go, modeling.
Yeah.
Having a snack there,
Mm-hmm.
and throughout, and it not having to be like, oh, it has to be this whole spa day, or
Yeah.
oh, it has to be, like you said, the 2 hour workout for it to count. It could be a 15-minute workout video on YouTube, and that
Mm-hmm.
works.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it can be 5 minutes, writing affirmations or finding affirmations, or it
Mm-hmm.
can be, somebody said hydration nation. Yes,
Hydration
yes,
nation. Yes.
love that.
We need,
A hundred
especially,
percent.
yeah, in that postpartum. Like, first of all, if you're like chest feeding, all that is getting out is you need it
Mhm.
in, and then you're not sleepy. You need
Mhm.
water. But yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And one of my favorite things, I actually just had this conversation probably a couple of weeks ago with the mom who was like, we were talking about the S's because she's like, I really just want to like shower. It was like shower. And it was like, yeah, something as so simple as a shower is harder to
Mhm.
do when you have a baby. So it takes more intentional planning and work of like, okay,
Mhm.
what time of the day, who can be available? So that mental load is there. So finding a
Mhm.
space to be like encouraged to do that. I mean, like, you deserve to shower every day.
Yes, you
It's
deserve
just,
that.
yeah.
Yes.
And then we kind of started rolling because she was like,
And it
like
doesn't
earlier
have to be
also,
rushed either. Like
exact,
you get to take
yeah.
your time.
Exactly. Yeah, with some music, safe dancing. Don't get
Mhm.
too wild up in there. Just the wet, a little sway. But then we started talking
Dry your
about
feet.
like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I could do like a little walk because I've been wanting to be out in the
Mhm.
sunshine. And we're like, okay, let's habit stack that because I love Atomic Habits. I love a good little habit stack. So it's like, okay,
I need to read
maybe
that book.
it's a good one. I've read like twice. But
Okay.
it's so maybe it starts with as soon as I get home, as soon as hubby gets home, when partner gets home, they're taking a baby, I'm going on a 10-minute walk on sunshine by myself and taking a shower. That's less than
Mhm.
30 minutes. That could be
Yes.
20 minutes. But for
Mhm.
moms, especially moms who have been like conditioned to put everybody else, that can start to feel like you can start to feel selfish, and then mom guilt comes in.
Mhm.
And like that's
Mhm.
one thing that like just looking up mom guilt, be like, wow, am I is somebody who takes a shower and goes on a walk for their mental health a bad mom? And then we could be like,
Yes. Yes.
no, then I'm not a bad mom. Like
Right.
I'm a human being.
Honestly, it's defining to like what is a good mom, bad mom to you, to like really sitting
Mm-hmm.
and thinking like, to you, what makes a good mom,
Yeah.
right? Or what makes someone, and then like you said, then you're able to say like, oh, actually going to take a shower does not make me a bad mom, or going on a walk, or taking a break to read, or like, and I'm not a bad wife because I have my husband wake up in the middle of the night at least one shift, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
if he's going to work in the morning. Because guess what? You need your rest too if you're going to
Yeah.
be home with the
Yeah.
baby. And that is also work, right?
Exactly.
It's just, we're just not getting paid for it. But
Yeah.
it is work
Mm-hmm,
as
mm-hmm. It's a lot
well.
of unpaid work.
Um,
Yeah, that's a very common thing in
yeah.
therapy. They're like, "Well,
Hmm.
I'm not doing anything, so my husband works." I'm like, "You're not doing anything? Let's write down all the
Yes.
things you did this
Yes. Let's
morning.
write down all the things that you do. Just
Look
not
at
getting
all
paid
the."
for
Yeah, it's like here's the difference.
it.
We live in a capitalist
Yeah.
society, right? So we have
Yes.
to learn that just like the amount that somebody's getting paid for a certain task doesn't equal the value or worth of it, especially in our
Mm-hmm.
nation when like daycare workers, like elderly care
Mm-hmm.
workers, teachers, early childhood educators, they get paid nothing, but they are doing some
Mm-hmm.
of the most important work.
Important.
Whereas
Yeah.
people who are scamming
100%.
insurance companies to pay for things that are
Oh,
not
my
helping, not helping anybody, it's
Listen,
like,
my earring was is through with it. It is like, yes, I'm tired of all of this capitalism and scamming
yeah.
people. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm out. But yeah, so I think for that, it's like I think we lose oh my gosh, I think the work that moms and new parents do and the
Yeah.
presence and the caretaking that they give to their kiddos in those first few years is so valuable. And
Mhm.
I wish more
Mhm.
moms like stepped into that power and being like, wow, I'm
Yes.
doing generational work right now.
Generational work. And then also when you are taking care of yourself, that is influencing the generational work that you are
Yeah.
doing. So for you to be able to go for a walk and have a good interrupted meal or to take a shower
Hmm.
allows you to be able to show up in the way that you want to so that you can impact your children versus
Exactly.
like it is like reshaping that thought of, oh, I have to give, like the giving tree, right? Oh, I have to
Hmm.
give. No, like you get
Hmm.
to build,
Yes.
and because you're building, you have so much more
Yeah.
to pour into others, and
Yeah.
you can pour from overflow and not
Mhm.
the reserves.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I love
Yeah.
I love the one kind of phrase that I have on the grounded motherhood right now is grounding, rooting, growing. Because I do think like
Mm.
it's kind of like a three-step process. Like in any situation, just like coming back to your body, right? Like where are my feet? And be
Hmm.
like, does that mean I need to take a deep breath, stare at a tree, like step out in nature? Just to get back in my body, take a deep breath. And then rooting, which is more like there's kind of like two meanings to it, but one of them is in any situation, asking yourself like, what is causing whatever I'm feeling right now? Like, let's say I'm feeling guilt. Like,
Hmm.
what's at the root of that? Like, why am I feeling
Hmm.
guilty? What kind of messages have I been taught about rest or help? And then another one is
Hmm.
like rooting, as in like strengthening your roots, so your overall wellness. So it's like, okay, how do I tend to my health a little bit more, my physical health, my emotional health, and like really root so that whenever you know, the next fruit of my life comes out, it's a positive, like it's a helpful fruit, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But there's a
Hmm.
whole visual to it that I'm more of a
Yeah.
visual too, but that's one of the reflection questions I encourage people, because it's like, yes, we can feel guilty about taking care of ourselves, but
Hmm.
I know that I'm trying to be a present, patient, kind, and firm mama, right? Like that's my
Hmm.
intention. That will not happen if I'm not taking care of myself. I've already tried it.
Hmm.
Like I'm irritable, I'm anxious, I want to yell at you and slap somebody. so
Hmm. Hmm.
so I could
It
say
gets
that's
there. It gets to
selfish.
that point.
So I'd be like, okay, what do I need to show up as a mom I intend to be? It doesn't mean
Hmm.
100% of the time you're going to show up as that mom, but like self compassion is one of those things.
Yes.
Because then when I don't show up, I can remind myself, it's okay. Like you were hangry, girl, or like it was a long day,
Hmm.
or you had a lot going on. We try get some rest today, and we'll try again tomorrow. Versus
Hmm.
you're a bad mom, and like look at you, you
Hmm.
snapped at your kid. Self-compassion, the research, I love it because it literally shows
Yeah.
how much like self-compassion eases the stress response, like calms the stress response
Hmm.
system, so that we can respond in ways that are like more regulated versus
Right.
out of shame or anxiety.
And then also that teaches them, and we're both girl moms, right? And so
Yes.
like that's teaching them how to be self-compassionate, and
Yeah.
like we are reshaping the cycles and patterns that the messages that traditionally women have of like, oh, they don't have emotional regulation, or oh, they're this, or oh, they're tough on themselves, or you have to be this or that, and we
Mm-hmm.
get to model like, no, you actually don't have to do in order to be worthy of
Yeah.
something or to
Yeah.
be valuable. Like you get to have self worth and not have to deal with perfectionism maybe,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
like to feel like you have to perfect this thing in order to be worthy or to go. And this is not to say that they won't be hard workers or that they
Hmm.
aren't dedicated to their craft or discipline, but
Hmm.
more so of they don't have to be mean or shame themselves in order to
Yeah.
get those
Yeah,
results.
yeah. Less masking, less performing. I think
Yes.
I have a sticker somewhere that I had made for the Grounded Motherhood like poetry bundles, which is like um, in presence over perfection was one of them, but another one was
Mm-hmm.
like imperfectly present. Because like
Mm-hmm.
that's what matters most to me than anything. I think as a kid I always felt like I had to look a certain way, be responsible, don't ruffle any feathers. And that caused so much internal anxiety. I was like, I almost lost
Mm-hmm.
myself in that. So like helping like set model to my daughter and anybody else around me, like this is who I am
Mm-hmm.
today. I'm still gonna be kind and firm, but I'm a little more tired today, so I'm gonna lay down. Or other days
Yes.
I'm a little sillier, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
faking it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what like the grounded motherhood umbrella, like I call it maybe like grounded motherhood is like a branch off of millennial thermom, because millennial thermom is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that brand, that wellness. Like I want wellness for all generations, like all families. Like
Mm-hmm.
let's break those curses. Let's step into abundance, like holistically. What does that look like? And at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, like I think that postpartum or like becoming a mama, becoming a parent is such a beautiful time to step back and really look at those things and be like, who am I moving
Mm-hmm.
forward? Because maybe who I was before, she would have been burnt out. She would have people pleased the world, but I'm no longer her because now it's not just
Mm-hmm.
about me also. Not everybody needs like postpartum or motherhood to like click that for them, but I
Right.
did.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely, because there is the expectation that we carry all these things, and in this day and age, it's just not possible. And
Yes.
so we have to take that step back and really, um, define for ourselves what's important, what's our priority, and who do we want to show up for. And at this
Yeah.
point, it's like the family we created,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then we pour from the overflow after
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. So
I know we are, I know, like creeping up on an hour already. Like I
yeah,
can't
I
even
know.
believe it.
I know.
Um, so like what do you want to leave with the people who may see this, and as far as kind of what you have coming up,
Oh, yes.
where to find you, who could
Yes.
benefit from
Yeah.
Escuelita Cafecitos. I know
Yes.
you
Yes.
have an event coming up this Saturday I'm excited about,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that
Yeah.
we're going to, but yeah,
Yeah.
take it away.
So May is our Super Bowl month. May is Maternal Mental
Yes.
Health Month. And even though I have had Millennial Therapy on the YouTube channel for a couple of years now and a lot of the events, I feel like this is the year where I've kind of gotten over my initial kind of postpartum roller coaster. Like my daughter's almost 2.5 next month. So
Hmm.
I'm feeling a lot more grounded in like being able
Wow.
to pour into like other moms. But I'm excited. I'm releasing a 12-week rounded postpartum series within the Escuelita. And I do want to say a disclaimer, like the Escuelita is open to anybody. Like the Grounded Motherhood
Yeah.
Escuelita is open to anybody. The languaging is really languaging from my heart. Like I am bilingual. I
Yes.
speak Spanglish. But
Yes.
the cafecitos, I want them to be spaces like if somebody does want to like speak in Spanglish, that's also welcome there too. But the
Hmm.
specific grounded postpartum course is going to start in mid-May, and it'll be kind of like 12 weeks of short video lessons because attention spans and time, capacity, and
Hmm.
all that of like matrescence, of identity shifts, of basic like emotional regulation, mental health, like the mental health I wish everybody had access to, whether or not
Hmm.
they ever see a therapist. So that's kind of like one way that I'm hoping to bridge the gap of like mental health and the communities that we serve. It's like you don't
Hmm.
necessarily need to go fill out a whole intake to learn about your nervous system. I feel like you should have
Yes.
access to that, or generational
That's,
trauma.
yeah. Yeah.
Or matrescence or postpartum mental health. So
Hmm.
that's one big thing that I'm currently like focused on launching. I also have my poetry book, which just came out. Where is she? I got stuff all over the floor over here. Let me grab her.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Beautiful.
and I say like this is full of like poems that I wrote in my own postpartum. So I feel
Okay.
like this is like the heart of the Escuelita. If anybody likes this book, they're gonna like the Escuelita because it's self-compassion, holistic mental health. There's courses
Mm-hmm.
in there around all of that. But most importantly, I think is like the community spaces, which right now I'm really calling them like cafecitos and circles. So
Mm-hmm.
if you go to groundedmotherhood.com, that's kind of like my main event slash shop, like cafecito and shop. Ooh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Might have to be
Okay, write it down.
I might need, I could see that being a real store, cafecito and shop. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So you can get
Heard
like,
it here first.
you heard it here first. You can get the digital download, which also has linked to Amazon to get this. But the cafecitos are, I have a lot of virtual ones coming up. So two in May, May 8th and May 22nd are specifically for mamas. We're going to be speaking on matrescence and like grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one will be around like holistic mental health for mamas. Also collaborating with the Zumba teacher, also a mama who is going to be teaching us. It's like Zumba para las mamis. So whether you identify as a mom or not, if you just identify
Mm-hmm.
as a mommy, like, hey, you're
Oh,
welcome.
oh yes.
Come dance, just come
That reminds me
dance.
of the like Mamacita
Yes,
trend that happened over the
yes,
summer.
that was a thing. That was a thing.
Mm.
But because I honestly believe that a lot of like our ancestors and generations already had so much medicine in what they already did. The dancing, the
Yeah.
cooking, the circles, the
Yes.
drums, the
Mm-hmm.
all of that. So I also be hosting some in person. So you're gonna be coming to one of them, sis, yay.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but the goal really is to have a combination of like with the escuelita and the cafecitos, having a space for people to come who are just curious to learn more about like what is this like mental health, especially when it comes to new parenthood or postpartum, or if you're planning to be a mom. I also want to create space for you to just be
Mm-hmm.
introduced to those conversations and those
Mm-hmm.
topics. So the in-person cafecitos were also kind of a general flows like music, some breathing, some journaling, some connecting. That's really what a cafecito is to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I've gotten a lot of clarity. Like I mentioned, I am Christian, and I think sometimes I get in my head of like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this what I'm supposed to do? Or like, it's not good enough. But I feel like I've gotten enough confirmation from God to be like,
Yes.
it's enough. Like, there's
It's
already,
enough.
it's enough.
You're
To
in
not
service.
overthink it.
You're doing things that propels the kingdom forward, and that's what
Yeah.
you're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So, love, but
and
grounded mother.
it wouldn't be implanted in your heart if it weren't meant for you to
Exactly.
do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and then I forgot to mention. So, for the month of May, on my YouTube channel slash podcast, I'm gonna have weekly episodes coming out on Monday. So usually they're just
Oh,
monthly. Yeah. So
look at
I'll
you
make
beefing
sure.
it up.
Yeah, I have some special guests who were able to do some episodes with me. So the first one will be a solo episode releasing on Monday, which I believe is
Mm-hmm.
the fourth, and then we'll do three more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm hoping that there's like different access levels because I am still a therapist. So if like for California
Mm-hmm.
mamas, if they really want like individual therapy, for me, I'm more than open to do a consultation. But I also am okay with being a bridge of like if
Mm-hmm.
things don't feel as debilitating as maybe like therapy or not as debilitating, if you feel like okay, I want a baby step towards like what does it look like to take care of my mental health, I'm hoping that
Mm-hmm.
the escuelita and the grounded motherhood can be a good step. But I also
Yes.
am there to be like, hey, have you heard of Postpartum Support International? Or I have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people now in California and Florida who are licensed. So it's like, hey, girl, if you need a therapist, hit me up.
Yes.
Like that
Yes.
friend, So I'm hoping to
Mm-hmm.
be more of that bridge, like preventative, like early
Yeah.
before things
Well,
start popping.
and I think making it more accessible too, and
Hmm.
feels maybe a little bit more safe
Hmm.
to for those who may be hesitant to say they're in therapy. Like if you're in the grounded motherhood and you're learning about these things,
Hmm.
or you're in Escolita and you're
Hmm.
talking about it, that may sometimes feel safer for some people. And then
Yeah.
I think, like you said, with the subscription, what we talked about, it makes it more accessible monthly, and it's something to
Hmm.
look forward to. And then they have that built-in community. And if we are noticing that, okay, they might need a little bit more support, you have those resources as
Exactly.
well for
Yeah,
them.
exactly. Yeah. And I'm
Um,
gonna just like speaking on that, The Escuelita right now, it's originally $37 a month, but the first 20 mamas get it for $27 a month. But I'm
Jump
having
on
like
it, mama.
yeah, jump on it. But I'm having a special thing that I'm trying, especially with the 12-week series. Like I'm doing like 3-month packages basically inside
Okay.
the Escuelita, so that those will be they equal to more to $25 a month. So I'm also hoping that
Mm-hmm.
like there's different ways to just access the education and then like,
Mm-hmm.
come within the circle, but all the cafecitos are free. So if you're like, I don't know about financially investing in that way too, you can come over to a cafecito and then groundedmotherhood.com has all the links and we'll still chat. I would still love to connect with you
Yes.
or my email
Yes.
list.
Ah, thank you so much, Joanna, for
Mm.
meeting and hosting the IG Live because I'm not at 1,000 followers yet.
Yeah, we got
So,
to get you there.
we'll have to get there so that we can move forward. But I so appreciate the conversation. Even though we've been meeting bi-weekly, I feel like I learned even more about you. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know you originated from this or that or this. And so it's been a pleasure. And for anyone listening, please go to what's your website again?
Groundedmotherhood.com. I have two websites, but the main
Okay.
one with the links that I talked about today is groundedmotherhood.com. And even at the top, you can visit my main website. So
That's right.
groundedmotherhood.com.
Yes. Yes. So go in the link in her bio. Maybe it'll be also in the caption so that we can have like, kind of what's happening, what's going on, a summary of what we talked about. And you guys stay tuned. Joanna and I are going to be partnering hopefully in the summer with some cool things. So we'll talk more about that as that comes along and more. Um, but anyways, oh, gotta. Anyways, thanks so much again, and just tag me, and
Yes.
we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.